an event called West Coast hip hop. Somebody remember that. West Coast hip hop was a direct result of that migration. What about the food? They brought the culinary traditions that fed generations in the South: collard greens, cornbread, catfish, oxtails, black eyed peas, fried chicken, gumbo, jambalaya, peach cobbler. I know some of y'all are hungry now. And these became the staples of urban kitchens and storefront soul food restaurants across America. And it transformed the culinary map of the nation. And in these new homes, FBA, Black Americans upheld Southern values, multi-generational households, strong grandmothers like that one I got over there. We called her grandma. Some of y'all might have called y'all's big mama. Front porch storytelling, unspoken rules of respect and hospitality and kinship. Nobody was a stranger in my grandmother's house. Everybody could get them a plate of greens and some cornbread. The whole neighborhood knew Miss Elmira. You understand? And these values built resistance and held communities together, even in the face of housing segregation and police brutality and job discrimination. I didn't even know I was poor. I didn't even know. You see what I mean? I was eating good. I had my cousins around me, you know. It was all good. And the other thing is, what we brought is a seed of resistance and that survived sharecropping and lynching and voter suppression. We knew our enemy well. So when we got to cities like Detroit, New York, and LA, they organized union boycotts, political clubs, and civil rights campaigns. And many of the core leaders of the civil rights and Black power movements were either Southern born or children of Southern migrants. Malcolm X was born in Omaha, but his daddy was a Georgia preacher. Martin Luther King, Atlanta. Rosa Parks, Alabama. UEP Newton, he was from Louisiana. Even Angela Davis, her people were from Alabama. So that's the effect that a first generation can have on the second generation. Even in the North, the spirit of Southern resistance remained. Now, again, some of these Black enclaves, they've been living there, people have been living there since colonial times. Whether we talk about New York, Philadelphia, Boston, even parts of the Midwest and California, going way back. You see? Harlem, for example, that had Black residents long before it became a cultural mecca. But again, when the Southern folk came up, it radically shifted the culture, it reshaped the culture. It drowned the old elitism and gave birth to something new and undeniably powerful, a working class, faith-rooted, streetwise, musically gifted, politically aware culture that defined the 20th century Black experience. And what we know, what we shout out to Downrange, and what we now think of as urban Black culture is actually rooted in Southern Black culture, transplanted to cities. The way we dress, the way we talk, the way we dance, the way we cook, the way we sing, the way we worship, hell, the way we fight, the way we love. It all traces back to that migration and the one before. And without it, there would be no Harlem Renaissance. There would be no Motown. There would be no soul music. There would be no Black Panther. There would be no civil rights movement. And there absolutely, positively, certainly would not be hip hop. And I don't care how many of you all say that hip hop started in the North. And what they're trying to do is try to give these immigrants, whether they be Latino or Caribbean, you're trying to give them credit for something. The roots of hip hop was in the South. And I'm gonna talk about that. Shout out to Beatrice Smith. But here's the thing, as we built these new cities within cities, as they redefine what it meant to be Black in America, a new force would eventually enter these urban strongholds. And that is the Black immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa and South America and Central America. And it began in earnest after the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, which literally removed long-standing quotas. What started as a story about foundational Black American resistance and cultural dominance would soon become the story of cultural collision. Okay? And I'm gonna run through this, but after, I want y'all to understand what's going on. After the great migration of Black Americans, okay, there was a collective push to rise from the ashes of slavery and lynch mobs and Jim Crow and segregation to build a dignified future in America. And then came the Immigration Act and Nationality Act of 1965. And it marked the federal government's silent but strategic relocation or reallocation of what would be allowed to benefit or who would be allowed to benefit from those hard-earned gains. So we fought for it. And then we had the federal government say, well, we're gonna flood the zone with these foreigners. We're gonna flood the zone with these foreigners. You see? And Lyndon B. Johnson signed the act into law at the foot of the Statue of Liberty, on October 3rd, 1965, just months after the Selma Montgomery marches and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And that timing was not coincidental. It was deliberate. And while the law repealed the overtly racist national origins quota system, which had long privileged Northern and Western Europeans, you see, and let them in and didn't let anybody else in, the consequences of that repeal fell not on white America, but directly on the backs of foundational Black Americans. On its face, the law was sold to the public as a moral correction to America's openly racist immigration policies. But in practice, it ushered in a tidal wave of immigrants that would undermine the very people, us, foundational Black Americans, whose blood had been spilled to redeem the soul of the nation. Just as foundational Black Americans were beginning to access job markets and higher education and housing opportunities that were previously denied to us, the government swung the doors wide open for tens of millions of immigrants, most of whom who had never participated in the civil rights struggle, had no investment in America or Black liberation, but who would soon become competitors for jobs, resources, political attention, and cultural legitimacy. So before 1965, immigration from non-European world like Africa and the Caribbean was nearly non-existent, largely because we had these racially restrictive immigration laws stretching back for over a century. In the Caribbean, immigration to the US was heavily restricted by the Johnson-Reed Act of 1924, okay, which imposed hard national origins quotas that virtually eliminated immigration from Black majority nations. You just can't come here. While you had shout out to Wayne Solomon, while you had a handful of Black Caribbean enclaves, such as those in Harlem, comprised of Jamaicans and people from Barbados and Trinidad, professionals, okay, their numbers were teeny. Okay, most West Indian immigrants who were allowed in were highly educated elites, not working class labor who were here to compete with foundational Black Americans. The average Black Caribbean had no chance, absolutely no chance of immigrating to the United States before 1965. That's why they weren't here. That's why if you talk to these Caribbean folk, they'll tell you they weren't coming here before 1965, they weren't here. They didn't show up until after everything got cool. And in Africa, the picture is even worse. African immigrants in the United States, they were literally non-existent. There were 50,000 in total in 1960, 50,000. You see? Colonial rule in Africa was still the thing. You see? Colonial rule in Africa, coupled with US immigration laws, made migration nearly impossible. But most African nations remained under European domination into the 1950s and 60s anyway. Remember, as I discussed the other night, because they had done business with these European nations, and they had bartered and sold our people into slavery, the Europeans had a little tiny foothold anyway. So in the case of England, they bought the fort from the Danish in 1850 and said, okay, well, y'all, and they used the same infrastructure that the Danish were using to impose colonialism on the African population in Ghana.
What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the broadcast. This is Uncle D.
People wash their ass in the tub, Kamala Harris.
You were tuned in to Uncle D. This black man talk, pull up, homie, take a seat. Don't be a shadow watcher every day. You learn something, then you earn something. Let them know and drop some money in the plate. It's getting cold, ladies, talking ratchet. There's a king here, grab your coat, zip your jacket. Keep quiet for a second, close your jaw. Attorney Spurling, this ain't pearly, know the law. Talking Constitution, pushing pins when he shooting, give him that. Masculinity, just for the record, sprinkle that. You can keep your cat, gotta cut it. Only cat he rubbing, gotta love it. I call it Molly Buddy. Gotta vote your interest, voting earns. Presidential, this is for the money that I earn. When you gon' learn, my people, that evil mixed with evil. No matter what you're doing, baby, this ain't equal. Sometimes when you're special, you get hated. The test is for the best, you're damn right, my people made it. Uncle D, Blizzard King, you been served, gotta notice. Now black men out here know we winning, gotta hold it now. Uncle D, you been served, get your notice. Now black men out here know we winning, gotta hold it now. Uncle D, you been served, get your notice. Now black men out here know we winning, gotta hold it now. Uncle D, you been served, get your notice. Now black men out here know we winning, gotta hold it now.
Hey man, I'll do what I do.
Somebody need to whip your ass.
Get up and whip him, Sweets.
Hey, don't be putting the money in my hand all rough.
Take your ass out here. You buy you a Flowbee and cut your own damn hair from now on.